In this video I will tell you top 10 crimes of all time. So let's start.
Everybody get your fucking hands up.
10. The murder of Selena Quintanilla. Selena Quintanilla was at the height of her career when she was murdered. Her album Amor Prohibido had just been nominated at the Grammys for Best Mexican-American Performance, and the 23-year-old superstar was working on an English-language album that she hoped would transform her into a crossover hit. Quintanilla's life was changed forever in 1995 when the manager of the Selena fan club Yolanda Saldivar shot the young pop star. When Quintanilla noticed that there were money discrepancies and missing documents within the fan club, she confronted Saldivar about the missing documents, and ultimately the conversation ended with Saldivar murdering the Mexican sensation after they met at a hotel room. Saldivar was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 30 years. Quintanilla's life was portrayed beautifully by fashion icon Jennifer Lopez in the 1997 film about the young woman's extraordinary life. 9. Ted Bundy's rampage. Serial killer, kidnapper, rapist and prison escapee Ted Bundy victimized women for several years in the mid to late 1970s. Prior to his execution in 1989, he admitted to at least 30 murders, but investigators believe there were many more. The killing started in the Northwest a couple of years after Bundy graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in psychology. The victims often resembled his college sweetheart, a breakup that tore him apart. The mass murderer went to prison in 1976 but escaped twice, killing several more women along the way. He was finally caught on February 15, 1978. 8. The murder of Laci Peterson. Scott Peterson remains in prison after being convicted of the December 24, 2002, murder of his wife Laci Peterson and their unborn son, Connor. Laci was 8 months pregnant when she vanished from her Modesto home during the day of Christmas Eve. Her body was found in April 2003 in the San Francisco Bay. Peterson has long since stood by his claim that Laci was killed as she walked the couple's dog after he left to go on a fishing trip that morning. When the case went to trial, jurors heard about Peterson's indiscretions, including a months-long affair with a woman named Amber Frey, who at the time didn't know Peterson was married when she began dating him. 7. Columbine. The murder of 12 students and one teacher at Columbine High School on April 20, 1999, wasn't the first mass school shooting, but it was the first to occur in the 24/7 news age, which ensured that any detail available would be sent out into the world as soon as possible, long before there was any context to put it in. The shooters, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, weren't the most popular kids in school, but they weren't bullied outcasts, nor did they fit into any other neat box of student tropes. Then came the outcry about violent video games, both kids who liked Marilyn Manson, the Trenchcoat Mafia. All were things that people tried to link to disturbing behavior, in desperate hopes of understanding what led those two teenagers to do what they did, but none of those things were responsible for what occurred at Columbine. They suffered from mental illness to be sure, Harris the alpha and the stone-cold killer of the pair, while Klebold was the depressive follower. But even the definitive book on the massacre, Dave Cullen's 2009 bestseller Columbine, is so frustrating, because it reveals all of the red flags evidenced by Harris ahead of time that were missed by authorities, as well as the untruths and exaggerations that piled up in the days immediately following the shooting. With all the misinformation at our fingertips on a daily basis, we can understand why it usually takes at least a decade to paint a clearer picture of the most twisted crimes. 6. The O.J. Simpson murder trial. TV was changed forever on June 17, 1994. When football legend turned actor O.J. Simpson led police on a low-speed chase throughout Los Angeles in his iconic white Ford Bronco. The chase ended at Simpson's Brentwood mansion. Every major network covered the police chase, and millions of people around the world tuned in. Broadcast and cable networks relentlessly followed the football star until he was found not guilty in the murders of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman. And the world is still fascinated by Simpson and whether or not they feel he took part in Nicole and Goldman's murders. 5. The murder of Maddie Clifton. Maddie Clifton was a tomboy who liked to play basketball. So when she went out to do just that one autumn day in 1998, her family didn't think anything of it. But once she shut the door, she never came back home. Maddie's mom called the police to report her daughter missing, and the whole neighborhood embarked on a search for the girl. 7 days after she disappeared, Maddie's parents watched as the police stretched crime tape across the yard of one of their neighbors. Inside the Phillips home, Missy Phillips discovered what she thought was water leaking from her son, Joshua's, waterbed. Upon closer inspection, she discovered a foot. When the police investigated, they found the body of 8-year-old Maddie concealed in the mattress. Joshua Phillips was taken in for questioning where he confessed to the crime. He claimed that he accidentally hit Maddie with a baseball, panicked, and ended up killing her. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. 4. The murder of Shannon Watts. On August 13, 2018, Chris Watts strangled his 34-year-old wife, who was 15 weeks pregnant at the time, in their Colorado home, and then killed his 2 daughters, Bella, 4, and Celeste, 3, at his job site on an oil field. After Shannon was reported missing, Watts acted innocent and played the victim for the cameras and his friends and family. Watts was having an affair with his coworker Nicole Kessinger at the time of Shannon's murder. After failing a lie detector test, Watts came clean to law enforcement that he had killed his wife and his children. He pleaded guilty on November 6, 2018, to multiple counts of first-degree murder as part of a plea deal when the death penalty was removed from sentencing. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He is currently serving his sentences at maximum security prison Dodge Correctional Institution, located in Waupun. Audiences were mortified by the family slaying when the docuseries American Murder, The Family Next Door premiered on Netflix, portraying the horrific killings. 3. Gianni Versace. The public continues to be baffled by the shooting of fashion superstar Gianni Versace in broad daylight in front of his mansion in Miami's South Beach. Versace was a well-known fashion designer and the founder of the Versace fashion house at the time of his death. In the fashion industry, he was a sensation, dressing celebrities such as Princess Diana of Wales. But, Versace was behaving strangely on the morning of July 15, 1997. Witnesses claim he went down to a nearby cafe, passed the entrance, and then circled back to enter minutes before his death. Later, a hostess noted that it appeared as if he was being followed. Versace then went out and got a newspaper before returning to his multi-million-dollar Mediterranean villa, but he never made it past the front door. How the murder occurred is unknown. A young man in his 20s approached Versace from behind and shot him twice in the head, according to some witnesses. Others claimed the males appeared to know each other and they were fighting over a bag when a gunshot rang out. Regardless of how it happened, one of the world's most recognizable fashion designers has passed away. Andrew Cunanan, a 27-year-old male, was the offender. In the local gay community, he had a reputation as a flamboyant gold digger who preyed on older guys for free trips and expensive stuff. Many individuals, however, referred to Cunanan as unhinged. Cunanan killed 4 other men throughout the country in the 3 months leading up to the murder of Versace, landing him on the FBI's most wanted list. Cunanan, on the other hand, refused to take responsibility for his actions or identify his purpose for killing Versace. Shortly after Versace's murder, he committed suicide aboard a Miami houseboat, leaving no note and but just a few belongings. 2. The disturbing Jeffrey Dahmer murders. In 1991, one of the nation's most disturbing serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer, would claim his last victim. In July of that year, a 32-year-old man named Tracy Edwards was seen walking the streets with his hands handcuffed. When picked up by police, he escorted them back to Dahmer's house. When the officers entered the home, they saw photographs of various body parts lying around. Dahmer was immediately arrested. Dahmer was found guilty and sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms for the murders of 17 men and boys in the Milwaukee area between 1978 and 1991. Dahmer had sex with the corpses of his victims and kept body parts of others, some of which he ate. He was killed in prison by a fellow inmate in 1994. 1. The Menendez brothers' murder. The defense team for Lyle and Eric Menendez painted their life as a tragic, twisted story of sexual and physical abuse at the hands of their father, X-rated film entrepreneur Jose Menendez, aided by their mother, Kitty. One trial ended, delayed for years over the question of whether tape-recorded notes belonging to the therapist, whom Eric confessed to murdering his parents, were admissible as evidence, in 2 hung juries. A second jury found the brothers guilty of first-degree murder for fatally shooting their parents in their Beverly Hills mansion in 1989. The brothers were tried together, but with separate juries. They were sentenced to life in prison, where they remain. And this is where we end this video.
If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you get updated on videos like this in the future.